Good afternoon, everybody. And we're very mindful that this is the last full working week before Christmas. So some of you may be watching this back as a recording, and we've got some of you who've joined us live today. So thank you for taking the time out. We'll be with you for around about 45 minutes to an hour today, and I'm going to do some introductions in a moment. Today, we're really looking at, what's changing in modern selling practices and how is AI playing a pivotal role in elevating seller performance. You can't go a second or two now without hearing the words AI. On this call today, we're going to talk about it in context to driving sales performance. Now, we've seen over the course of 2025 a huge shift in the market around buyers being more informed, competition being more fierce than it's ever been, people being more cautious with decision making, and therefore the whole definition of sales cycles are changing. There's plenty of research that shows sales cycles are actually growing in duration. So it's more important than ever that as a professional seller, we are fine tuning the skills, capabilities, and mindsets more than we've ever had to. And practice is a key part of that. It's actually a non-negotiable. And I use the sporting analogy that if you think that most professional and elite sports people, they practice most of the time for about maximum 5, maybe even some cases 2%, 1% game time. In what we do in the business world, we flip that around and we actually spend most of our time playing and not much time practicing. Well, the great news with AI now is that we can spend more time practicing to really get better at what we do. And the two gentlemen I'm going to introduce you to in a moment are really at the forefront of that. How can we improve seller and sales leader capability using AI as a practice tool? So I'm delighted, thrilled to be joined by Oleg, CEO of PitchMonster. Hello, Oleg. See you wave. And our very own James Barton, CSO of Mentor Group. What these two are going to share today is some of their insights prompted by a few questions from me around, why should we pay attention to this? Why is this so important now more than ever to make sure that we drive predictable, repeatable performance that keeps people in organizations for the long term? So James, Oleg, welcome. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, you're very welcome. So let's start with the first question that we're going to cover off today, which is, from your perspective, tell me why practice is becoming almost a differentiator, a critical differentiator for modern sellers. James, I'll come to you first on that one.
Sure. So my approach to enablement here is that we don't have a content problem. Sellers are absolutely full of content. We give them sales training, we give them materials, proposals, everything you could want to go and deliver it. What we have is an execution issue. And very often what's happening is people don't have that opportunity to practice before they go with their customers. So it's absolutely vital that sellers have the ability to use the training that they've had, all the materials, and put it into practice before they meet the customer. And I think that's quite a competitive advantage. I mean, we've been doing sales training, Matt, you and I, for 20 plus years. There's always been an element of practice, whether we've been doing fishbowl exercises or something in a room. What we've now got is the ability to deploy these practice elements in a repeatable and scalable way that is consistent. Because you and I would know that when you have sales training, it's all down to the quality of the deliverer. If the deliverer is a good person to facilitate a piece of practice, then you get a good experience. But it's not always consistent globally. And of course, we can now do this in multiple languages as well. Oleg, what would you add? Oh, sorry. Matt, you're on mute.
It's good because my in true webinar fashion, my Alexa went off at that very point. So that was almost poetic. Get your perspectives on that. Do you want to push one point that you mentioned there, James, actually, because you talk about an execution problem. Is it that the execution is being done in the wrong way? So what I mean by that is you can still execute even if you've not practiced. Are you saying that we're doing the execution potentially in a high risk way with the customer?
Yeah, I think that's a great way of putting it, Matt. I think the way that I look at it is that we don't often think, and you know, you made a great point earlier. You said everywhere you look, there's AI everywhere, right? And I know organizations who are investing hundreds of thousands of pounds in AI systems that are not built into an execution cycle. So they're not getting used, and companies are not seeing their ROI on all of these tools. And just be fair, most people are just shoving the word AI in front of the tool that already exists because you know you have to. And that's causing a bit of drag as well. What we've got to do is we've got to make sure that whatever we build, whatever we're doing in terms of enablement, it's human centered. So what we're doing is making sure that it's all part of something that people can pick up and actually use to move the needle. Not just because we say we've got an AI tool, but something that moves the needle for that person.
Right. So we're talking about how we move the needle. Oleg, be interested in your perspectives on, practice as a differentiator in the modern sales world.
Right. Thanks for the question, Matt. And actually, James brought up quite a few important points. Where I can add up here is definitely I can double down on the moment that company can spend hundreds and thousands of dollars into the training, into the content, involving internal experts or even external experts like companies like a Mentor Group, right? But in the end of the day, if the company can't track how the knowledge is being implemented, how the new skill set is being implemented before reps will go to the customers, how can you track the investment out of the training? How you can track the investment out of the coaching? That's a big problem. The second one, why practice and why now? We're living in the world where the skill of the salesperson should grow drastically. Why so? Right now, there are AI sellers, AI BDRs, right? And they do a lot of generic stuff. And if we take a look, a couple of years ago, a mediocre, a mid performer is something that AI can just take on their role, take using their skill set, being quite okay, being quite okay. And there are a lot of salespeople that are losing jobs right now. There are a lot of companies that can deliver the value prop in a okay manner. But if you have your sales force, if you want to grow your sales team, your salespeople will need to know how to be exceptional. And the training and the coaching and the practice and preparation is the big part of that. So the future of sales rep being able to compete with the AI is for sure being much better prepared, much more aligned to your value prop, much more aligned to your messages, having the skill set and the soft skills and the hard skills. So that's an ideal model of the salesperson we see in future. And that's how the salesperson can compete with the AI. And that's how businesses can compete with the okay AI sellers of your competitors and other businesses out there. So that's why practice is important. Practice and coaching is super important right now.
So,
Right.
let's get real for a moment in terms of we're talking about AI role play practice and going up against AI sellers and everything else. What, in your opinion, Oleg, I'm going to come to you first on this one. What are sales teams leaving on the table when it comes to coaching and readiness? What are they leaving in terms of money on the table by not doing this?
Well, that's the marketing budget. First of all, your marketing teams are doing a fantastic job creating campaigns, crafting the messages. Your product team is working hard on your product, or your service team is working hard on the offer that you go to market with, right? And then if sales rep is not ready, if they can't align on the messages that you want to deliver, they will not sell it in the way that you want to, right? And the conversion rates will not be as high as possible. They will not be delivering the value points that you want them to. And that's the one part of the problem. The second part of the problem, for sure, that's all of the efforts of the enablement team or whoever is responsible for the training and organizing the content inside sales team. You can have an enablement team of 5-10 professionals. They'll be working a lot and just crafting a lot of materials, but in the end of the day, people are not using that enough. And the practice and the AA role plays is the one of the most effective tools to see how well that could be implemented. That's
Right.
what I see out of talking to a lot of companies out there.
So pulling the sales and marketing functions together, which we know is actually really very important. We've been talking about
Yeah.
this for several years. But James, let me ask you a question. So, because we've talked about this, why do we actually need to change? What does traditional role play practice? You mentioned that earlier. Why don't we just carry on doing that? You know, those old frameworks and everything else. Why don't we just carry on as we were?
There's no reason why you shouldn't, because they can be very effective. The challenge is, however, they often only exist when we're doing an enablement activity. So you're going to an event, you're linking it with a particular course or training piece of enablement, and then you do something that normally is not that challenging or stupidly challenging. Because what happens is you get a nice facilitator who makes it really easy, and you have a nice little conversation, and we make up these hypotheticals. Or you get someone who wants to bang their chest and show what a great facilitator they are, and they make it so hard and they humiliate people. What we need to be doing is provide a safe place for people to go and practice, because that's where real learning happens. The ability to drop the ball, to make the mistakes in a non-judgmental place, and to try and try and try and try again. I've seen some research. It's not something that I'm fully supportive of, but there's something like 77 times before you get good at these things. Now, evidence that we can see from the use of our technology is we can evidence when people start to improve, and it's not on the first and second time. So you've got to do this more than once. And what we can do now with the AI role plays is give people the opportunity to do it as many times as they feel comfortable with, and get coaching in the moment directly. Now, the other bits and pieces that you quite rightly I picked up on was consistency. What if you're training a large sales force, you want to make sure that everybody's getting the same opportunity. And back to one of our mantras in Mentor Group, which is we do it your way, not our way, contextualized to your business. And I know Oleg's going to show it a bit later on, but the functionality now to integrate this with Salesforce so it can pull in a real live opportunity and build a scenario about something that is real and tangible, that changes the game, because it's no longer a hypothetical. It is based upon something real that's happening now. So therefore, you're going to get a lot more emotional engagement with it.
Okay, so we're hearing a lot about alignment between sales and marketing, emotional engagement. We talk about not practicing on the customer. All of this seems to be logical, right? It all makes sense. In fact, I'll be provocative enough to say, why wouldn't you do it? But we know it's not that easy, right? So Oleg, let me come to you and just give me a bit on, talk to me about some of the common barriers that you see in terms of sales leaders operationalizing this kind of practice.
Right, that's a great question. For sure, we can divide the fears and the lack of understanding of technology. We can divide them 100%. At first, when the sales leader thinks about AI coach and AI role playing, they're a little bit afraid and they're a little bit skeptical even, because they think, okay, this thing will replace me. And when we talk to multiple organizations, especially small to mid enterprises, growing companies, that's a huge concern for them. And from time to time, they even go to the owners of the companies and they say, "Hey, I really want to stick to more of a traditional way of role playing, just because I don't want to lose this human touch." However, what James mentioned a minute ago, we don't position that AA role plays will change humans, not at all. And it will be a perfect addition, and it will be a safe space. Why? Because when the sales rep, let's imagine that they wake up, nobody's like, okay, I want to do 100 role plays today with my manager. I'll be super excited and woohoo, let's go. That's going to be a super cool day. But what we do at PitchMonster with the AA role plays is providing them with a safe space where they can come. The AA coach, the internal AA coach, and the AA buyers, those that you talk to, they're unbiased, right? They're created based on your live data, based on your opportunities, based on your calls, based on your transcripts. And the AA coach will be just helping you to get to the highest possible standards in which are based on your sales frameworks and based on the product knowledge. And so that's number one. Secondly, there is a huge pushback, even sometimes from the sellers, that it would be awkward to practice with a virtual client. Why would I practice with the virtual clients instead of going and doing the same thing with the real clients, right? But when there is a certain culture, for example, the sales leader or the enablement person can deliver certain messages. For example, you don't need to mess up your deals if you want to try the new way on how you need to sell, how you need to position your product. You can do it in the safe space again. And I absolutely love this idea of calling it a safe space because it's safe for the manager, it's the safe for the sales rep as well. And these are two of the most common fears and most common concerns that we see. It might be awkward or it will replace me. But in the end of the day, none of the clients that are applying AA role plays, if it's small business, middle business, enterprise, huge enterprise, none of them regret the decision, and none of those concerns really affected the organization negatively. It only carries on the positive impact.
Great answer. Thank you. And I think the term psychological safety is relevant to this, where individuals can practice in a safe, non-biased, no unconscious bias going on. The other really important thing that I heard you say there, Oleg, is for sales leaders, they're still an intrinsic part of the solution of the development journey because they can take the output of some of the AI practice and coach the change along the way. So it's not a either or, it's a bit of both. James.
Yeah, I wanted to pick up a couple of points that Oleg raised, which I thought was important. We talk about a safe space, and we talk about a safe space from the position of the seller, but it also needs to be a safe space for the organization to allow people to make mistakes. So, for example, one of the areas that we've used AI role plays in before is in compliance to make sure someone can relay a value proposition that has some legal terms in it that if you screw that up, screw up the sales. So you do not want your seller, not just because it can make you that, because it actually has a liability on your organization. So it's safe not just for the seller to practice, but you can be reassured that from the company's point of view, your people aren't going out there and saying things that they shouldn't be saying to a customer, which is a good thing, right? So it's safe on both sides. The other thing that's come up, I know it came up in the chat, was may have misunderstood me when I said that we've got loads of content. Content is absolutely vital. And back to your question about operationalizing, where we see this go wrong is where people aren't connecting the dots together. So they're just deploying these role plays and thinking that the role plays by themselves are somehow magically going to fix seller behavior. It's not true. You connect these to some sort of enablement practice. You do some sort of training of some description, whether that's digital or hybrid or something, and then you put these in to reinforce that training. So, our mantra is learn, practice, embed. Learn first, content, then do the practice, and then we can embed the behaviors. And, to the point about not replacing humans, one of the great things about this particular tool is the way that you can get coaching just from the AI, but you can also integrate the manager or the enablement people. So you can have that hybrid model. So people can really get into it. So you can deploy quickly and people can skill up really quickly to a certain level, but then you've got the opportunity as the manager or the enablement team to chip in and make it even better. So it's about optimizing time. So we absolutely do not support a drop it in and walk away mentality. This has to be part of a solution, part of something that you're doing to move that needle, back me moving the needle.
Let me stick with that just for a moment, James, if I may, because Nigel's question is all about what are the pros and cons of a hybrid model. Is there an argument that someone physically coaching complements the benefits of AI, such as scalability automation?
Yeah, I think Nigel's question is provocative and perceptive, because what you can do with this tool is only go so far. Now, the tool's got lots of great capability in giving coaching based upon the answers, but a human can still do a lot of things that an AI can't do. But having a platform which can be consistent that you can use, because the physical human can interact with and override the feedback from the AI, then you've got the best of both worlds. And we've seen it in some of our deployments where people have been using this to do accreditation. Now, anytime you do an accreditation and you're doing it and letting the AI make that accreditation by itself, I think you've got a problem, because then you've got executive decisions being made by AI tools. What you need to be able to do is say, we can take you so far, but then the human needs to come in and go, absolutely right.
Very good. Okay, so I'm going to take 2 more questions. I'm going to come to you, Oleg, because this question's a good one for you, and you might be able to wrap what you're about to say into that. And then we're going to go into a demo in a few minutes from now, so you can actually get a sense of what it looks and feels like. Because the next question really is around the paradigm shift. We're talking about blended models. We're talking about complementary coaching to AI practice. How do you think, Oleg, that AI practice shifts that coaching paradigm from reactive to proactive?
Because you fix a lot of problems before they will happen in actual conversations, right? And partly it supports the point that I wanted to add to James's previous statement. Why the hybrid is awesome. The hybrid approach is awesome because managers, especially if you think about big organizations where there is an enablement team who dictates the content and the coaching activities, right? They launch those role plays, they launch practicing campaigns, and then managers at all times can just jump in and take a look at the results of their reps. And not only they can override, because how James mentioned, humans can read between the lines, which is awesome. Not only they can override and change the AI feedback, but they can easily uncover the gaps and the troubles that might happen on actual calls with particular rep. And that's from the change here is that instead of me listening to the hundreds of calls and trying to identify the troubles that my team has, I can do it even before sending them to the customers, to the leads. We don't want to burn them. And I can be proactive because I see higher highs, lower lows in AA practice, and then I can easily send the message. Okay, let's hop on the one-on-one. I see that there are some of the things that you don't understand on how can I help you, right? Let's just break them down. I want to help you. I want to help you to succeed on the sales calls. And that's the beauty of it, that AA practice is just connects a lot of dots, missing dots. It's a big addition to humans, to managers, to coaches being much more effective. And that's not only a practice tool, that's the visibility tool. And that's where it comes from, the reactive approach to proactive approach.
Very good. We've talked a little bit about, and David mentioned earlier on his chat around measurement and metrics, and of course, particularly in the market that we're operating in at the moment, return's really important. So whatever you're going to invest, be that in a hybrid coaching model, an AI driven coaching model, sales leaders are always going to want to look at, how am I going to know this is working? So James, give me a little bit on that. What do you think around some of the metrics that you can see and measure through, an AI coaching model?
Well, the great thing about this whole platform is it measures everything. So you can when you create the rubric which it's scoring you against, you can look specifically at the growth of a particular element of a skill, or you can look at the overall growth of individuals. And one of the things that the platform is very good at is showing that growth over time. And that for me is what we should be doing in enablement anyway. But what we can now do is evidence the fact that people are growing. Now, if you can then connect that growth to a dollar number or a pound number, then you can start to show proper return on investment. And I mean, we know from the work that we've done, it's extraordinary. When you get people up to speed and up to skill, it makes a difference. But the system measures everything. And if you're doing a program where you've got specific skills that you want to make sure are delivered, all specific messages in your value proposition, you can now measure it and say, my team are sales ready. Because that's a question that most people cannot answer. If you said to an enablement person, are your sales team sales ready? Most people will go, I think so. You say, prove it to me. What's your evidence? You'd struggle. Now we can say categorically they are ready because we can evidence X, Y, and Z metric, which is it's a different world, completely different world.
Perfect, thank you. Final question before the demo. So, and Oleg, I'm going to come to you on this one. We've talked a lot about where we are now. What do you see as the future of AI sales coaching?
The AI sales coaching, when it comes, if you think about different tools, for example, you have an LMS right now, enablement platforms, you have AI role-playing solutions like PitchMonster. They're fairly standalone. They act as the separate tool. Where we see the future of AI coaching is to be in part of your favorite tools. 80% of the time salesperson spends in their CRM or in their the system where they do the calls, right? And why don't we create an addition to this ecosystem where instead of asking salespeople to go into different tools and practice there or learn some of the training materials there, why don't we deploy the same solution in the Salesforce? And the solution is trained on your live data. The solution knows about your strengths and weaknesses. The solution, you can at all times access the AA practice via the Salesforce or any other tools that you spend most part of your day. And the same for the managers, the same for the people that are creating training and coaching activities to get the reports right there, to understand how person is using the tool. And we believe that merging two technologies together, the one that person spends most of their sales life, most of their sales time, and the practice solution, so it will be as the one organism, one component, that's going to be an essential next step for the AA role plays and any of the AA coaching tools.
Great. So full integration with other technology stacks. James, you talk about individualized, inline, in the moment. So taking all that data and real time providing it to a seller or a sales leader to say, right, this is what the data is showing us. Let's go practice something now before we engage with a customer or we engage in a coaching conversation. Oleg, be great if you could do a demo now just to talk a little bit more about some of those integrations and things that are coming, if you will, please.
100%. Because look, we've spent quite a few minutes today talking about how great the technology and how great is applying AI coaching to your day-to-day activities. But in the end of the day, it's how it works and how people like this technology. So what I will do, I will share the screen and preparing for this webinar, we thought about a couple of key points for the demo. And I think that the most important point here is the magic of how you can translate some of the data that you have currently into AI role play and how realistic could be this AI role play. So we will just use one of my opportunities in Salesforce. I'll load it here, and then I'll show you the AI role play itself. Because if the salespeople do not believe it's realistic enough, they will not be engaged for a long time. And then what are the outcomes, what are the results, and how we see PitchMonster might be a part of your tech stack. So when it comes to creating AI role plays, there are different scenarios that you can use here, because you have BDRs, you have people that are bringing in the leads, you have people that are running the discoveries, running the demos, you have the people over the phone, you have people that are going into fields and talking to customers face to face. And That's why creating the role plays, a role plays with the PitchMonster, you will have a chance to recreate any mode. So for example, let's go with a CRO conversation. Let's imagine that I'm about to sell the solution. I already got some kind of approval from enablement manager. They really want to integrate that, but for some reason, their CRO is pushing back. That's something that I had a couple of months ago, and I just want to practice that. And for example, you will build a role play, and who knows, maybe the rest of your sales team, once upon a time, they will face the same exact scenario. Why don't you recreate one of the life opportunities that you have right now and make sure that the team will know how to handle that in future? And let's imagine I'm the account executive here. So I will go with a screen share. Not only I will need to talk to some kind of virtual customer, but I will need to demonstrate something to them, open up the slides, or vice versa. I can go with a phone conversation. Let's imagine I'm just giving them the call. I'll pick the phone convo. I'll create a quick role play here using my Salesforce opportunity. By the way, those who want to create the role plays on their calls data or the transcripts data can do that as well. If you have the GON installed, you can do that as well. We have great integration with the GON common. If you have Clary, if you have other tools like GON, we can integrate them as well. But what I will do today is take one of my Salesforce opportunities and I will prepare myself for the call. Let me grab a link right here real quick and just paste it here, and you will see how the AI will help me to create the role play. So give me a sec. There you go. Just paste the link right here and generate the role play. So what's happening right now? AI pulling the data from the Salesforce, keeping the context in mind on the contact person, on my previous interaction with this opportunity, on all of them, my notes that are left. For sure, we at PitchMonster, we care a lot about security of your data, so we never store data about your opportunity and the data of your Salesforce in PitchMonster. And literally in seconds, I got the roleplay generated with virtual buyer persona, with the job title, company here, difficulty level set, with all of my goals for this conversation, right? So the CRO approval, close the PitchMonster deal for a January start. That's literally what I had a couple of months ago. Then AA pulled up the info about our product. That's just magic. And the whole the storyline of my conversation with this company along what's their current state, what are their biggest pain points, and what's so special about this conversation. So in how it was before, you would need to go to the Salesforce, you would need to pick a couple of calls, then you would open up the Word file or would open up the GPT and you will try to craft the role play. You'll send this role play to one of your managers, right? And you will ask, make sure that you will practice that. Even before sending to one of your managers, it will take a couple of hours of prep and the research. Right now, all that and done in minutes. Also, system created for me the action plan, what should be done in the call, along with some of the objections. So not only it will be a good and friendly conversation, I will get some of the pushback right here that will prepare me for the actual call. All I need to do is include the persona starting phrase, save the scenario, and I can set it to the group of people or to one particular individual. And think about that. I just spent literally a couple of minutes. I was talking more than showing you. I spent a couple of minutes on creating this scenario that I can then send to dozens or even hundreds of people. And that's one way of doing that. Second way is applying more customization. So if I get back to the editor, for example, I have the objections. I can enable the advanced mode and I can literally set the triggers. Say, I want this objection to be brought up here at the end of the call. I want to give this little trap right there. I want to give this little challenge right there. You can give AA the context on what will be a good answer. You can give an AA the context what might happen if your salesperson is not doing a great job with this objection. So not only can create quick scenarios, which you can do at all times, but you can create a well-crafted scenarios with a lot of custom logic behind that. And that's why we've been partnering up with the Mentor Group for quite a long time, almost 1.5 years, dozens of projects together to big enterprises with a great ROI. Why? Because they perfectly know the structure of calls and how to replicate them in PitchMonster and apply those 40 plus customizations to the scenario and also to the scoring part. By the way, there might be the question from the audience, what if you don't have enough data in the Salesforce? Again, that's something that Mentor Group can cover, making sure that if you want to implement tools like PitchMonster, if you want to add the element of AI role plays to your everyday activities, you can adjust your Salesforce setup so you can generate those scenarios, or a mentor can help you to make them even more customized. So let's imagine that we've just created either a quick scenario or a more customized, well-crafted scenario with a lot of custom logic behind that, because you want to train your people on that. AI is doing a great job, but if you want to make it exceptional, you would need to involve a human editor here. Now I'll save it as a draft, and then let's imagine I go to the exact same scenario and launch it, and that's going to be an example of exactly the same scenario that we've just built. And microphone set of the rules. Let's start recording this one. Hope you hear the sound.
Sarah speaking.
Hey Sarah, that's Oleg from PitchMonster, and look, sorry, I don't want to catch you. Did I catch you at a bad time? I just wanted to give you a quick call because you finished the pilot a couple of days ago, and I want to understand how was it for you? What are your main takeaways?
The pilot went pretty well overall. The reps seemed to like the realistic role plays, and product marketing gave some good feedback too. It's definitely a step up from what we had before, but I'm still sorting out how to get the CRO fully on board with the next phase.
Oh, so there will be a CRO involved. Could you tell me a bit more? What might be his concerns? How can I help you with to prepare for the call?
The CRO's main worry is probably the timing and budget. He's already pushing to delay the start date, so I'm cautious about locking anything in too soon. Plus, we need to be sure it's worth the investment, especially with how stretched we are right now.
So is it the question that CRO doesn't believe in the value that you get from the tool, or is just purely the money question right now?
It's more about the timing and budget than doubting the tool's value. The pilot showed promise, but he wants to see stronger proof that it will actually move the needle on sales outcomes before committing the funds. So it's a bit of both, but the budget crunch is the bigger hurdle right now.
Gotcha. And Sarah, how can I help you? How can I get prepared for the conversation with the CRO?
What would really help is clear data linking PitchMonster to improved win rates or faster ramp times. If you have any solid metrics or case studies we can show, that'd make the CRO more comfortable. Also, a straightforward plan for integration with our existing systems would ease his concerns.
Okay. And what are your systems? What do you currently use?
We rely heavily on Salesforce and ECI for our sales processes. So integration with Salesforce, ideally through App Exchange, is a must-have. Also, SSO via Azure is part of our security requirements. Without those, it's tough to get IT and the CRO on board.
Gotcha. So did I hear you correctly that one, you want to have the number one, you want to have the set of the success cases and how PitchMonster helped other orgs, and secondly, that's the integration with the Salesforce and your Azure for security for the SSO. Did I hear it correctly?
Yeah, you got it. Those are the key points. Plus, I'd want to see how it handles our different sales motions and languages since we have a mix of reps and markets. If those boxes are checked, it'd make the CRO's approval easier.
Gotcha. What's my deadline? How much time do I have to send you out everything to cover those points?
Ideally, I want to have everything ready for the CRO's review by early December. That gives us time to address any questions and plan for a January rollout if all goes well. So sooner rather than later would be best.
Okay, now let me end this call for you. You see, that was a little interaction with the enablement person, me trying to help you get prepared for the CRO. That's literally what I had a couple of months ago. And I had the notes in the CRM, and I used the Salesforce opportunity just to prepare myself for the call. And take a look how realistic was that. And that was done in minutes. And how better it might be if you will spend quite a couple of extra tests on that, a couple of extra customizations. I just scored 45% for sure. After each role play, you will get an analysis. You will get an analysis, and you, I mean, the enablement team or the sales leaders can easily see what will be, what should be improved, what are the potential gaps that person might miss on the actual call itself. So what I did confirm the purpose of the call. I did talk about CRO priorities. From my end, I did not recap the pilot, right? I was asking more about their pilot. So I need to prepare myself. I need to bring in some numbers on calls like that. Then I see I'm missing the mutual agreement and the owners and timing, but I did have some kind of dated next steps. So overall, it was an okay call, but I'm missing a lot of things that I need to make sure that I will address next time. And again, here, I did it for free. If I go and do the same on the call with actual customers, I might lose 50K deal, 100K deal, 20K deal. But here I did it for free. And I can launch it once again and try to get the better results. And better version of me will go on the call with Sarah, trying to get her prepared for the call with the CRO. That's the simple idea of that. And it's just the beginning, because what we are planned here to do with the Salesforce, we already have the ability to pull the data from your opportunities in secure way. But secondly, to in 2026, in Q1, to release an opportunity for your salespeople to generate the role plays for themselves. Because right now, admins and managers can create the role plays. Now, think of the step two, like an always-on coach. So your reps don't even need to bother you anytime they want to practice with their own cases. They have their own pipeline. They just paste the opportunities there and they practice. And the step three here, which is also important for you to track the business results. These are the metrics that James and Matt were describing a couple of minutes ago, that we want to make sure that AA has certain business impact, right? And you can clearly see, okay, here is Sarah. She completed 17 role plays. How did it affect her performance? And actually, we want to bring up, you will decide what are the key metrics, key KPIs. What's your North Star? Are you looking for appointments, number of appointments booked, or conversion rates, or the win rates, or the conversion rate from one stage to another? And you will say, okay, these 17 role plays, she's scoring high, and they helped her to bring in 8 more appointments last month. And John practiced only a couple of times, and here we go, 2 appointments booked in months number 2, which is not something that you're looking for. So you will be able to see easily inside PitchMonster how this AA practice affects your pipeline, affects your performance. And not only Salesforce. Salesforce is just the beginning. We're already rolling out the integration with the GON, Twilio, Clary, Fathom, other note takers, and HubSpot as well. And that's going to be a virtual sales coach, an always-on sales coach that can act on your work on your real data, give those role plays, analyze those calls, give the feedback, always on a coach that gives the feedback to your people, and you get the reporting. And that's a clear message for enablers. You can expand your team, you can multiply your hours. For the sales leader, you get a sales coach next to your salesperson. And we've teamed up with the mentor here, and we thought about the idea, okay, how can we involve more organizations to try it? James and Matt will talk about special offer that we thought there might be some of the orgs that want to get Salesforce or the HubSpot integration plus the AA role plays, and we already have something to show you. So why don't we give you a discount for the access right now while we're still on step 2, and you get these updates, always on coach for your reps, plus the monitor of the business impact on from the AA coach and right now. So James, Matt, over to you. That was a little demo on how PitchMonster can help from raw Salesforce data to me getting an idea how can I get battery to for the conversation with the CRO. Over to you now.
Great, thank you. And we set out just to show you a demo of what is possible for that, particularly for those of you who are not aware of it. And I think you'll agree that the power of the tool when you are not practicing on the customer, that you are able to put in your own scenarios, use the data that goes with it, means that end in mind, people are performing better. They're being retained in organizations, which we know is a challenge at the moment. So Oleg, thank you for that. You talk about a deal. We don't do deals, right? We do value, of course, as a
Value.
sales enablement organization. But for anybody who's watching this recording or is on the recording, for organizations, we will give a 10% discount on the first project that is going live with those integrations as well. So that's the offer that we've got on the table, and we look forward to talking to you about that. James, I'm just going to come to you as a sort of a final summary before we go to any questions or comments that Ben's been keeping an eye on. And really, we heard a little bit earlier from Oleg around what he sees as the future for AI in sales enablement. Have you got anything you'd add to that, just as we get towards the end of our call
Yeah,
today?
I talk, and you mentioned it earlier, the 3 I's. It needs to be individualized. So training and these role plays need to be not just individual for the company, but individual for the seller to make it contextual. It needs to be in the moment. So when you want to access it, you can. You don't need to wait for an event. And it needs to be in the line of work. So inside the tools that you're already using. To go and open another tool is a problem for people. We know that the enablement stats drop off every time you try and work with another tool. So for me, I think there is a place for highly contextualized self-service coaching opportunities through these sorts of AI scenarios. You can build your own based upon your own scenarios, and you can get better and better. Fundamentally, what you spoke about right at the beginning with the sports analogy, we need to try to move the way of thinking away from we're always playing the game to actually we're practicing a lot more, because that means that when we do play the game, we're going to be a lot more effective. We're not going to waste as much time. We're not going to lose as many deals. We're going to be smarter, cleverer, faster, more agile, and we're going to have that muscle memory that we know how to deal with objections. We know how to deliver our value propositions, and we can do it in a way that is differentiated from our competition and from our AI colleagues. Because that's another thing that Oleg mentioned is, there's a whole raft of new AI tools, and they're going to do a darn good job because people are buying differently. So when they come to us, they need us to be on the top of our game. Selling has changed, and we need to be at the pinnacle of that.
Awesome, good summary. And Ben, I think we've covered most of the comments or questions. Anything else come in since we've talked or addressed those?
Nope.
Nothing else. I've just sent you a message about a couple of other ideas we could maybe cover off. So I think there was a point that Oleg raised about the importance of, when you're using the Salesforce integration as an example, the importance of having good Salesforce data. Because if the data in your Salesforce isn't robust enough, then the output of a tool like PitchMonster is also not going to be robust.
Yeah, totally agree with that. And again, the garbage in, garbage out piece. I know you've also mentioned on chat around And James, you talked about it, the individual in line in the moment. If the data tells us we're getting too many deals that's stalling at the last minute, it could be a value-based or closing practice that you can do. So it's agile enough to do that for sure. In fact, we're starting more and more to hear from non-sales audiences that say, look, we want to practice a critical conversation,
Yeah.
or an intern. Look, there's just, you can program PitchMonster to do anything that you want, so that when you get into the game, you are match fit.
Yeah, that's a really good point. The use cases are coming thick and fast from product, from marketing, from sales, from HR, from management, leadership. It's because it is practicing a conversation. That's what it does, and it does it very well.
Yeah, and David, your point is right. An increase in practice will require a mindset shift in the sales team. It's true. In anything that you try, you put effort in at the beginning and you get the reward further out. The better that you can perform in front of a customer, the more effective you're going to be in the role. It does require a mindset shift because there's a bit of time investment up front as well. No question about that. And Helton, you've mentioned that you've tested PitchMonster in Portuguese, your mother language, and it works in that too. There's a fast growing list of languages because, again, when you're practicing, we want to make sure that we're respectful and you can practice in your own language. So you can see a list of different languages that we can do. And Oleg, I think that's growing all the time, right?
Yeah, currently we support around 29 different languages and accents, and AI technology is getting better all the time. More languages, more accents, more different dialects even. And I just see in a year from now it will be double the size of that. And voices as well. To David's point, David's question about shift in the mindset when it comes to the approach to the practice. There is the super easy to implement and super easy to understand the return of investment use case, and that's the onboarding of the newcomers, right? Because they're still in the training, they have a lot of training activities, and practice can be an important part of that. And for the first time ever, before having their first call or first meetings, person can practice around 30 mock calls with the different personas, with the different cases, with the different objections. And a lot of companies are highlighting that when newcomer is finishing the induction training, couple of first weeks of induction training, they act and they have the same level of confidence as the person that's been in the organization for around half a year after doing the practice with AI role plays with the PitchMonster. And that's the easiest way. If we have enablers here and you want to go and ask for the budget for the tools like that, that's the easiest way to implement tools like that, get a clear and quite quickly get this ROI and present it to the leadership, get the buy-in for the scale. So that's the use case you can start with, and then you start to crawl, you start to walk, you start to run, and then you run the marathon. So that's kind of how we approach this one.
Very good. And just as we wrap up today, just one final question, James, going to come to you on from David. How do we get the managers on board? They are often the blockers to practice.
Yeah, I think I saw that question. I think it also slightly answers one of Helton's follow-on questions about some best practices. And it comes down to a shift in culture where managers, we know from all of the work that we've done that managers are the absolute fulcrum for change. And what we need to be doing is working with them to help them to be able to coach using the tool. If we can show them the power of doing it and show the change in the needle that can happen from this, they are going to be bought in. But often they feel vulnerable because they aren't able to coach as well maybe as AI can do. So we need to bring them along on the journey. We need to make sure that actually we start at that level and get them engaged and involved and help get them to test and design some of the scenarios to make sure that they are relevant for that organization. Once they're engaged and we've got their buy-in, it becomes an easy sell.
Very good. Great. So we get to the end of our webinar today, and I thank you all for coming. David, Leslie, Giorgio, Helton, Jason, Nigel, and Stu for being on the whole way through. And for those of you who are watching this back, thank you for taking the time out. We wanted to show something which is here, is right here and now, and it is making a positive difference to organizations. So we hope that was useful for you. From Oleg, James, and myself, we wish you a fantastic end to 2025 and a happy and healthy 2026. And we'll see you again next year, for more innovations. So
Matt,
thank you.
just before you go, how would people contact us if they wanted to speak to us?
Well, you take the
Yeah, sure, no worries. Look, guys, if you want to contact us, you can hit us up on the website, www.mentorgroup.com, or if you want to email me directly, you can get me at james.barton@mentorgroup.com.